I continue to be amazed at the new gadgets that are available to us today. For example, here's the latest one that I've seen. You can now start your car without using a key, just by pushing a button. Now, you have to have the key of the car on your person in order to do it, but you don't have to use the key. Somehow the car just senses the presence of the key either in your hand or in your pocket, and it will open up or it will start. Even better, if you've locked your car when you left your car, you don't have to use the key to get back into your car. Again, if the key's in your pocket or somehow is on your person, that's all it takes. As you walk up to the car senses that you've got a key. And as you take your hand and reach out toward the door handle, it just unlocks. That's it. How cool. I'm sure that they've got some kind of technology that simply senses the key and the lock. So the sensor activates when you're in range. But if you think about it, that's pretty cool. You don't have to go fidgeting around in your purse or your pants pocket to find the key. This is especially got to be convenient if it's raining outside or if you have your hands full already. Now, obviously, somebody else who doesn't have the key can't just walk up and the door open. It doesn't sense that there's a key there, so it doesn't work. You got to have the key. You got to admit, this is pretty awesome. And as I reflected on that this morning, I couldn't help but wish that I had the same ability in some other areas of my life. Think about it. How cool would it be to have a mouth sensor? Think about it. As I'm about to open my mouth to speak, it could sense if I was about to say something stupid. And so just before I open my mouth and pontificate about something foolish, the sensor would go off and lock my jaws. And let me tell you, if you hear that thing has come out, let me know. I'll stand in line to buy one of those. Even better, how great would it be to have a sin sensor? I can see myself walking through a normal day with all of my activities, and Satan comes to my mind, and he whispers a temptation into my thoughts, and suddenly my heart's being drawn away and lured into doing something that disobeys God and hurts me. And just as I reach out to do this sinful deed, the sensor goes off. And like an alarm, it's going off in my head, saying, "Don't do it." I need one of those. Or how about a rude sensor? That'd be cool to have. Hey, wait a minute. Come to think of it, don't we have one of these? It, or better yet, should I say he, is called the Holy Spirit. That's right. The Holy Spirit is simply the person or the presence of God who lives inside of every believer. Listen to what Paul told Timothy. In 2 Timothy 1:14, he says, "Through the power of the Holy Spirit who lives within us, carefully guard the precious truth that he's entrusted you." Do you see it? He lives within us, inside us. He's been given to us to guard the power, or to give us power to guard what God has put inside our hearts. Way back in the Old Testament book of Jeremiah, God made a promise. And then he said it again in the book of Hebrews, and it takes place. It says in Hebrews 10:16, "I will put my laws in their hearts. I will write them on their minds." You see, God has written his code inside the heart and the mind of believers. Then it's God's Spirit, who, by the way, is called our helper, who comes to remind us what God has put in our heart and put in our head. Jesus said it like this in John 14:26. He says, "But the helper," we'll talk about that in a minute, "but the helper, the Holy Spirit, whom the Father will send in my name, he will teach you all things," and here it is, "and will bring to your remembrance all that I said." Here the Holy Spirit is called a helper, or the word can be translated a counselor or an advocate. The word in the original language is parakletos. It literally means someone who is called to your aid. It is a person who comes and stands along beside you. And it's his job to cause you to remember. That word cause you to remember is the word euponesa. He causes, he sends an alarm to help you remember what God says. So there you have it. You've got a sensor. You're not alone. You do have an early warning system. You do have a sin sensor. Here's a promise you have from God. God said in 1 Corinthians 10:13, God is faithful. I like that. He will not allow the temptation to be more than you can stand. When you are tempted, he will show you a way out. Now, that's before you do it. He's going to show you a way out so that you can endure. Before you step in it, he'll show you how to step out of it. The key here is not if God will warn you. The key here is, will you listen to the warning? God says in Proverbs 8:33, listen to my instruction and be wise. Do not ignore it. Jesus said in Matthew 11:5, anyone with ears to hear should listen and understand. No matter how loud the sensor may be when it goes off, it doesn't do any good if I don't listen to it and pay attention to it. How cool is it that God doesn't just let us walk along in life? He doesn't just let us open our mouths without warning. He doesn't just let us walk into problems without a warning. I want to remind you today that God is walking with you wherever you go and whatever you're doing today. And he's there to be your helper, your counselor, and your guide. And God will instruct you and he'll give you direction. You just have to listen. You've got the sensor. Just use it. Here's a great thought for today. You can say it all day. The Holy Spirit walks with me today to guide me and to guard me all along the way. Here's a great prayer to pray today. God, help me to always listen and to be sensitive to your presence and your leading in my life. God bless you as you walk along today with his sensor in your heart.